This video is brought to you by America First Insight. Help support the growing conservative movement by becoming a member today. And if you want to support this channel, you can also use the code REAL when becoming a member. Thank you and enjoy the video. Well, after months of speculation, President Trump has finally intervened in the Kentucky Senate primary. And to say this is a disappointment would be an understatement, as President Trump has officially endorsed Congressman Andy Barr in the Kentucky Senate primary. And not just that alone is kind of a disappointment, but he basically forced Nate Morris, who most people, including myself, considered to be the best pick in the race, to drop out. And yes, this is real. In fact, Nate Morris himself confirmed this, and he dropped out and is now backing Andy Barr. Yeah, for a lot of people, this kind of sucks. And I want to be clear about this. I am not a big fan of this at all. In fact, I'm not thrilled whatsoever that President Trump did not go with Nate Morris, and instead, he is going with Andy Barr. But at the same time, yet again, I think some of the hysteria going around about this endorsement is absurd. Am I a fan of this? Absolutely not. I still think Nate Morris was the best pick. But at the same time, some people are just going absolutely crazy over this. President Trump moved Friday to thin the Republican field, running for Senate in Kentucky, endorsing Congressman Andy Barr, and prompting businessman Nate Morris, who had support from key Trump world figures, to drop out of the race for retiring Senator Mitch McConnell's open seat. And yeah, he did get Nate Morris to drop out, and in fact, like I just showed you, Nate Morris is backing Andy Barr. I know Andy well, and he's always a vote we can count on because he knows what it takes to get things done and to make America great again. Trump wrote in a post on his Truth Social site. The post came 16 minutes after Trump wrote that he had met with Morris on Thursday and urged him to end his campaign and instead accept an ambassadorship. Now, I kind of hope this part right here is fake because, listen, I don't think Nate Morris should be wasted on being an ambassador to God knows where. He should have an actual position in the administration. What he should be, I don't know for sure. But Nate Morris should not be wasted as an ambassador to God knows where. I hope he gets an actual position where he does something. I also believe that Trump did make a deal with Nate Morris. And the reason I say this is because you read what Trump actually said, and you may notice something very odd. He said he has a great future in politics or anything else he chooses to do. We'll be announcing Nate's new role soon. Notice what he said here. He is saying that he's going to have a great future in American politics. I wonder why he said that. Well, in 2028, there is another Senate race in Kentucky, and that's Rand Paul's seat. And a reminder that Trump and Rand Paul have some big issues with each other. They don't like each other whatsoever. And there's a good chance that Rand Paul just retires. Well, what if, and again, this is just speculation. I'm not saying this is confirmed, but what if Trump made a deal with Nate Morris and said, okay, listen, you're not going to win, but if you drop out right now and endorse Andy Barr, you will get a position in the admin and you will be the Trump-backed candidate in the Kentucky Senate primary in 2028. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but Trump has done the same thing just 4 years ago. Remember Bernie Moreno? Yeah, he actually ran for Senate back in 2022, and he was getting like 2% of the vote to 5%. He was not a front runner at all, but Trump convinced him to drop out, and in return, a couple years later, he ended up being the senator of Ohio. That's why I think Trump might have made a deal with Nate Morris. And if that's the case, I understand why Nate Morris made this deal. Because now, if he just waits 2 years, he's going to be the next senator of Kentucky. If that's the case, that would explain why Nate Morris is backing Barr and why he said yes to this deal. He must have realized his pathway to victory this year, while it's still possible, it was becoming less and less likely by the day. And instead of trying to run his campaign into the ground, he realized it's kind of over. So let's play ball. And in return, if he just waits 2 years, he's probably going to be a senator anyways. So what's the big deal? This was a smart move on Nate Morse's part, if that's the case. Is that what happened here? Maybe not. But I do think there is much more to the story. With what Trump is saying, I get the feeling this is another Bernie Moreno situation where he waits 2 years and he gets the same Senate seat anyways. I would be 100% fine with that. Rand Paul is going to retire anyways. If he doesn't, he's going to get crushed in that primary. I don't see him winning. Everyone's getting sick of his shit. He may run for president yet again. We'll see, of course. But man, I can see why Nate Morse is making this deal. Because now he's essentially the presumptive nominee come 28 unless something crazy happens. So yeah, Nate Morse, I think, made the right move in that situation. But still, we're probably, well, not probably, we are going to end up with Andy Barr in the Senate, which also means he is a replacement for McConnell. And that kind of sucks because we had an opportunity to go from Mitch McConnell, a bottom 3 senator, to Nate Morse, who potentially could be a top 5 senator. That's how good Nate Morse really is. But guys, some of the hysteria surrounding Andy Barr is ridiculous. I'm not a fan of this. I think Nate Morse was the best option. But guys, I can't believe people are actually convinced that Andy Barr, who I have major issues with, that's true, is somehow like worse than McConnell. I'm not even exaggerating. Look at what some people are saying. Look at this right here. Andy Barr will absolutely vote to remove Trump. He supported the Mueller probe. You're going to be shocked how many GOP senators vote to convict and remove this time around now that Trump is termed out. Wait a minute. What? You can't make this up. These people have gone off the rails so much that they're now convincing themselves and everybody around them that, guys, Andy Barr is worse than McConnell. He's so bad that he's going to vote to impeach and remove Trump after he wins. There's just a tiny issue with this plan. He had an opportunity twice in Trump's first term to impeach Trump. And guess what? He didn't do it either time. Even after January 6th, he still voted to not impeach him. But guys, magically this time, he's going to do it. And it's always weird to me. It's like, what? All these people that they had all the reasons in the world to vote to get impeach Trump after January 6th, and they didn't, even though a bunch of Republicans did vote to impeach him, but now they're going to, for what? And Trump is termed out, like you said. What's the point? That's the issue with this philosophy that some people are just building out of nowhere, that somehow there's going to be this magical impeachment vote where like half the GOP Senate votes to get rid of him. Why? If they didn't do it after January 6th, they're never going to get rid of him, especially now. The Senate and House are the most pro-Trump it's ever been. But magically this time, oh, they're going to get rid of him this time. They're going to impeach him. I'm just stunned that they're really pushing this hysteria, this nonsense. But they're purposely poisoning the well, and they're making it sound like, oh, Trump is endorsing all these bad people. And yeah, Andy Barr is a bad pick, but oh, Andy Barr is going to get rid of him. No. Andy Barr would be committing political suicide if he votes to remove Trump. We're not talking about Maine or like California. This is Kentucky. And I know 6 years is a long time politically, but if he votes to remove Trump, he's done in 6 years. And I highly doubt he's just running to be a one-term senator. I highly doubt it. I'm just confused. Like, what are you even talking about? Now, we do got to address why is Trump doing this? Because Nate Morse was the best option. And you look at the polling, and Nate Morse was not at like 1%. The latest polls, he was hovering in the double digits. But here's the issue for Nate Morse. You might notice that he has stagnated in the last couple of weeks. He was surging, that's true, and that's why I thought, hey, if he keeps this up, Trump's going to back him. A lot of people around Trump, like Musk, like Charlie Kirk even, they were supporting Nate Morris. But then he started to go down a little bit. And that's what I think happened here. Nate Morris peaked, but then he really couldn't keep the momentum going. Unlike JD Vance and a few others. If he would have kept the momentum, he probably would have gotten Trump's backing. But everybody should know by now that Trump, he just likes backing the person that's at first. He likes backing the clear frontrunner, and in recent weeks, that's become Andy Barr. Daniel Cameron is still collapsing. And that's the issue that Republicans had here. You had to pick between Andy Barr or Daniel Cameron. And I think the main reason why Trump went with Andy Barr is, yeah, both of them do have some connections to Mitch McConnell. But may I remind people that Daniel Cameron is considered McConnell's protege? I'm not even joking. Look at this. This is back in 2019. So this isn't post-Senate primary. This isn't post-24. This is before McConnell went off the rails. And Daniel Cameron, it was considered back then McConnell's protege. And that he is the next rising star in Kentucky. He was essentially McConnell's replacement. Yes, Andy Barr, he has connections to Mitch McConnell, but not to the level that Daniel Cameron has. And that's why I think Trump partially went with Andy Barr. He does not want Mitch McConnell's essentially handpicked successor to be in the Senate. He does not want that because you don't fucking know what he's going to do. Yeah, he was an okay attorney general. That's true. But the Senate is a different animal. And if he has deep connections with Mitch McConnell, that's a big problem. And that's why I think Trump, he does not want to risk it. So instead, you go with Andy Barr, who is not the best congressman. I still think he's not a good one either. But he's not this F-tier congressman that some people are making him out to be. He's bad. But look at Numbers USA. Again, not a perfect scorecard, I get that, but Mitch McConnell's career score is C- for immigration issues, okay? Andy Barr's is B-. And every single year since Trump took office, it's been going up. So Andy Barr has been getting better on the issues such as immigration and a few others, while Mitch McConnell has always been just shit. So Andy Barr is essentially a yes man. He will do what the caucus or what President Trump says to do. If Trump says, pass the Save America Act, nuke the filibuster, Andy Barr is there. Mitch McConnell, meanwhile, he's never going to do any of that. That's the difference. And I think that's why Trump is not really in the mood to back Daniel Cameron. You don't fucking know what you're getting with a protege of McConnell. And even then, if you really want to say, oh, well, Andy Barr has connections to McConnell also, well, by the way, so did Nate Morris. All three of the main candidates in Kentucky have some kind of connections to McConnell. So by this logic, Nate Morris is a rhino. Do you see the issue with this? Just because Andy Barr might have been an intern for him 30 years ago, that does not mean he's a protege like Cameron is. Daniel Cameron was there for a long time. He was being groomed by McConnell to be a successor. And that's why Trump said, fuck no. At least that's what I think happened here. And you endorse Nate Morris, you run the risk of A, him still losing because he's not getting enough support, and B, you potentially end up with Daniel Cameron in the U.S. Senate. That's why I think with Andy Barr, I'm not a fan of it, but the more I look at this, it does make sense from Trump's point of view. Do you either run the risk of Nate Morris, who is the best on the issues, would be a phenomenal senator, but he's not polling high enough. Like, if he was at 25%, if he was only a point behind everybody, Trump probably would have backed Nate Morris. But he's not. Or do you go with Andy Barr, who is not only surging, but based on his own record, he is essentially a yes man. Not the best on the issues, maybe, that's true. He says some dumb stuff sometimes, but he is a yes man. If Trump says nuke the filibuster, he's probably going to nuke the filibuster. Who do you go with if you're Trump here? Morris or Barr? Perfect world, I would have backed Morris early, but sadly, Trump doesn't really do that. He does back people that are clear front runners or they're surging. That's when he gets involved. But here, well, Andy Barr is the one surging. Daniel Cameron's collapsing, and Nate Morris is stagnated. So I think that's what Trump did here. We shall see what happens the next couple of weeks, but it does seem like Andy Barr will be the next senator of Kentucky. Anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, and of course, join the channel today. Godspeed to all of you.